you had to have some joy in it to stay in it this long.
Well, I enjoy it. I enjoy my employees. We have 500 some odd employees now. And but I really enjoy the customers. That's what I enjoyed about the Sounds. I enjoyed walking those steps and talking to the customers. I enjoyed talking baseball to them. I've never wanted to just sit around and do nothing. I used to play golf, but I don't do it anymore. I don't garden. I don't fish. I don't hunt. So my hobby is work, and I don't even regard that as work. I back up to take my paycheck. So, you know, I just think you got to be active. You got to have a reason to get up. And I've always jokingly tell my employees, I don't want you to work but a half a day, and I don't really care which 12 hours you work. So I don't work 12 hours anymore. But I enjoy what I do. And if I weren't doing that, I would be doing something else that I enjoy, whether it be a greeter at Walmart or something that I enjoyed, that I was around people. We had made an approach to buying Kansas City. That went to the guy that was already running them, that was from a Walmart clan. So Rick stayed on me, let's do something together. And so the center in Murfreesboro, Tennessee became available. We reached agreement. I presented to Rick, here's an idea. I had taken the financial statements of a company called Bowl America that at that time owned 18 bowling centers, but they were publicly traded, and they were all made mostly in one area of Washington, Baltimore area. And I said, we could do this. So I got involved with the Patrick family. Doug had been in in bowling for a time, so I said, why don't you stick with me for 90 days and teach me something about this? And so that was our first center, and we bought it. Then all of a sudden, a lot of other people said, it's time for us to get out. So by the next July 1, we went from owning no centers in September of.
You are the cap for whatever goes on in your store, in your company, in your district, in your household. However excited you are, what you believe is possible, whatever that threshold is.
Who's been a mentor for you through that? I'm sure that these days you're a mentor for others, but who helped you along the way?
Well, I think the most help that I ever received to set me a standard was Jess Neely, my athletic director at Vanderbilt. He had been a head football coach at Rice and Clemson, and he was just a man of integrity. I remember when he came to see me at Goodlettsville, he said, I want you to be our baseball coach at Vanderbilt. And I said, why would I want to do that? Y'all not very good. And he said, well, you're right, we're not, but I'll help you. And it's just something about that man. And I learned that, you know, he was at Rice when Bear Bryant was at A&M. He would never call Bear, he called him Paul, because Paul had Bear had been caught cheating at A&M. And he just emphasized play by the rules. When things go bad, don't be blaming other people. Don't take credit for everything. You know, he's just a manner that he had. And he was up in his years. After he quit being AD, he served as a golf coach at Vanderbilt. And he was just an inspiration to me. Keep your word. If you give your word, keep it. If something comes up you can't, you go explain why you can't do that. and treat your players with respect. Treat them all alike. Give them a responsibility and hold them to that. I can't emphasize anymore from what I learned at Vanderbilt, dealing with less than what other teams had, but not using it as an alibi.
Sure.
That probably taught me more than any other thing I've done.
I'm sure it served you well growing your own businesses.
Sure did.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, as the business owner, you have to assume responsibility for everything that happens.
Yeah, and that's when, I've always kind of wink when some head coach their school got caught doing something. So they fired the assistant coach and said the head coach didn't know anything about it. Well, his job's know about everything.
Right.
So don't be just blaming it on somebody else to protect your own hide. Just admit it.
Yeah.
I make mistakes every day.
And you're going to. I mean, there's nobody's perfect. And for us to assume that we're going to be perfect is just setting ourselves up to fail. Now, I do believe in perfect moments. There's a lot of people that will challenge perfection at all, but I think every once in a while a moment comes together. Maybe it was being able to put the sounds together. Maybe it was the situation at the Royals, or maybe it was just last Tuesday. But every once in a while we get something just comes together, and that's fun.
Yeah.
One of the things that comes up on the podcast pretty frequently. Now, you and your wife have been married 65 years.
Going on 66.
That's fantastic. Now, how much of your success do you think is because you had the right partner, that you had somebody that supported you, supported them, and I mean, you have 5 kids. Obviously, that's a big undertaking by itself, much less all the rest.
100%.
Yeah, that's great. And so, give me a ballpark on everybody's ages. How old are all the kids? Steve, you might have to help with that one.
How old are they?
Yeah.
Our oldest is 60. Steve is the youngest. How old are you? 50?
52. There's probably a few nights that he wishes they'd stopped at 4.
Yeah, we had 4 in 4 years. So
wow. And you were busy at that time too with the business, and
well, no, I was still coaching when the first ones were born.
Right.
Just to speak of his work ethic, while he was at Peabody, he was working at Ford Motor Glass, at the same time. So I don't think he slept for the first 20 years of their marriage.
Oh, I don't know.
He was working the graveyard shift at Ford, going to Peabody with a young wife, and then they started having us kids along the way.
So I didn't know you were at Ford too.
Yeah, I worked there for 3 years, full time. While I went to school during the day and coached some little league teams, and then when I taught school for at Bailey Junior and then Goodlettsville High, I would go back and work there in the summer and make more money in 10 weeks than I made all year teaching.
Sure. Oh, I believe that. My grandfather retired from Ford. Yeah. Now, and he was at the glass plant, but he would have been a little older than you. I think he would have turned 100 this year.
That's where I was.
Yeah.
I worked in every department except maintenance.
I believe it. When did you sleep?
I get 3 or 4 hours a day, but you can do a lot of things when you're 20 years old.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
He was also the head football recruiter at Vanderbilt and made a pretty good acquaintance that went on to be a pretty good coach of his own right at the same time.
Talk about Bill Parcells.
Okay. All right. So this is new information for me. I did not know you were involved with a football program.
Yeah, I was the head football recruiter. Back when I coached at Vanderbilt, almost all the baseball coaches did something else, except the 2 Mississippi schools had full-time baseball coaches. But I was the head recruiter, became real good friends with Parcells. He was a great motivator, and we're still friends.
Yeah.
We've had a gin rummy game going for a long time.
I love that. That's great. Who's your favorite coach? But besides your mentor, who do you see out there that maybe it's coaching today or has coached along the way that maybe makes your list?
Oh, there's a lot of that you going back to old timers, Walt Austin and Sparky Anderson and people. But Nashville's very Vanderbilt's got an excellent baseball coach in Corbin. Mm-hmm. He's done a great job. He's established, put them on a level with anybody else in the country. Looks like they got a pretty good basketball coach now.
Yeah.
And certainly, I look at a lot of the best coaches are not coaching at the big schools that are making a living and doing the best they can at a Middle Tennessee or Austin P or places like that. So I don't keep up with it as much as I used to, as who I would say is the best and all now. But certainly, I guess the guy at Ohio State established himself as pretty good.
Yeah, I think you can probably mark that one down. Now, well, because you take a lot from what you've learned coaching and, obviously growing the Sounds and those things, what do you think are some of the keys to your winning strategies, other than identifying the different types of people you want to cater to in your bowling centers, but just in business in general? What advice would you give somebody out there that's maybe a hallmark that you really stand by?
Well, the employees you hire and how you mold them into what they should be doing. Have a manual, and then verbally tell them, this is what you do. And this is what I had to learn when I first got into bowling. A lot of people have been doing the same thing for like 20 years. I work the front desk. That's all I do. That wasn't my philosophy. And sometimes I've had to replace people because I'd say, okay, you have slow times. If you're slow times and all of a sudden our snack bar get real busy, you need to go over and help them out, vice versa.
Sure.
You need to help clean the stadium, your building. And so to establish teamwork, that we're on the same team in this center. I'm going to treat this center in Hendersonville as if it's the only center I got. We're not worried about the one at Tusculum. We're not worried about the one in Louisville or Cincinnati. We're going to make your center the best because you are a team. And then translate that to the general manager, which we've tried to get at least somebody in every center that really knows bowling. Like if you come to Hendersonville and you think you know something, I guarantee you Tracy, who has been on the Pro Tour, knows more than you do.
Oh, yeah. He's been around a long time.
And so we have, even in Knoxville, where I have one lady running 3 centers.
Okay.
Wendy is the second or best bowler in the whole state. So she can talk to every league bowler. I've got a guy at E-Town. He just was on the national championship team. And I tell him, if somebody complains that something wrong with these lanes, say, let's go out there and you want to bowl me for $10. So we try to get the team right.
Yeah.
It's still a team game. It just don't keep standings the way baseball or football does.
Yeah. Well, to me, that's why so many people go wrong. They just assume that people are going to know. And everybody's experience is not your experience or my experience. And you have to own that for your business. So you having the manual, setting the standard, and then putting somebody in place that knows bowling, which so many people get that wrong, but knows bowling and can talk bowling, but also understands the mission. And that is to excite people, to get people to come back because they enjoyed their time there. And then some things that we take for granted that obviously, so many people don't do these days. It was just keeping a center clean or being cross-trained so that they can step in for somebody. So I think that's fantastic. And you're really, if they decide not to stay in bowling, you're actually helping them get the skills for their next job.
Oh, we have a world of first-time job holders, especially in our circus worlds, our family entertainment center. We got a lot. I mean, picture yourself as you're now the general manager, and on Saturdays, you've got 16 teenagers working over there. They all have their cell phones, and they want to talk on their cell phones, and you don't want them to talk on their cell phones. You want them to do their job.
Right.
Fortunately, Crystal Moore, who runs, has been with me since 2001. She has a criteria over there. You're going to work. You know, no one should ever see you, no customer should ever see you on a cell phone.
That's a great concept.
And you must show up, and you must do your job. And if you don't show up, if you have something come up, you're supposed to call somebody else to fill your job. And if you don't, you're fired.
Okay.
So, and she sticks to it, and she's had a lot of those people start out as a 15-year-old party host, and now is working full-time as doing something either in a snack bar or the bar or the bowling counter. Been with us for 10 years or more.
Yeah. Well, because they're growing. They're still growing.
Yep.
And that's why a lot of people leave a position, is because they're not getting closer to their goal, or they don't feel like they're moving up, or they don't feel like they're gaining skills. And so kudos to you and your team for growing people through their employment.
Well, we're trying. We don't grow them all. Some just don't work out. But
Well, that's just part of it.
yeah.
You
Well,
know?
I think that speaks to Dad's leadership and his management team. Is from the front office to the managers, mechanics, a lot of long-lasting people have been there 20-plus years that stick with them, go above and beyond. We just opened a new center in Louisville that a handful of managers and a handful of mechanics were all driving there on their time, taking time away from their family and helping us get that center open.
Yeah.
So it just, they bend over backwards for him because he treats them well, and he's mentored a lot of them.
The one motto I have is don't ask your employee to do anything that you wouldn't do.
Sure.
When I was with the Sounds, I told them, I'll do everything you do. When I became 50 or so, I did say, I'm going to put one exception in there. I'm not pulling the tarp anymore because I'm not physically able to keep up with you young guys when you start running with that tarp. So, and I tell our managers, don't tell somebody to go clean up a messy restroom. You go clean it up. Then the next time you can do that, but you've done it too.
That's right. That's right.
And
lead by example.
And I'll talk about one job that he didn't take that I kind of wish he had. As you might know, being a Vandy fan is not always the easiest, especially football season. But something I just learned a few years ago is he was offered the Georgia head baseball job, and tell him what happened on the way back, why you didn't take that job. I could have been a Georgia fan my whole life, and they've done pretty well in football. I think
That'd have been easier.
Well, that's a long time ago, but they had a great tennis program, and I'd ask them about lights, and they said, well, a tennis program will have to come first. So driving back, even before I got to Chattanooga, I said, man, I've been playing second fiddle to football and basketball all these years. Dang if I'm going to be play second fiddle to the tennis program. So I said, that job's not for me. It worked out great.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done the Sounds if I'd done that.
Sure. Well, everything happens the way it's supposed to happen.
Yep.
That doesn't mean we can be complacent or just sit back. But that's great. Well, and I get it. We're always looking for clues as to whether we're supposed to do something or not supposed to do something. And that one said no.
Yeah.
That's good, Steve. I like that. How big a part has maintaining your health been throughout this?
Well, I've been fortunate. I guess I got good genes. My dad lived to be 93, and he was a disabled veteran, had a hole in his lung. I've always tried to watch my weight. I've tried to stay active. I've heard of so many people that was active and quit being active, and they're dead within a year.
Yeah.
And so I've never wanted to just sit around and do nothing. I used to play golf, but I don't do it anymore. I don't garden. I don't fish. I don't hunt. So my hobby is work. And I don't even regard that as work. I back up to take my paycheck. So, I just think you got to be active. You got to have a reason to get up.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always jokingly tell my employees, I don't want you to work but a half a day, and I don't really care which 12 hours you work. So I don't work 12 hours anymore, but I enjoy what I do. Mm-hmm. And if I weren't doing that, I would be doing something else that I enjoy, whether it be a greeter at Walmart or something that I enjoyed, that I was around people.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I hear stories about you all the time. And in fact, we were at a meeting yesterday, and they were talking about you guys talking at the Old Timers baseball banquet, mm-hmm. and that spurred all kinds of stories. And so I've heard some good ones that other people have of you. But what is maybe one of the most fun things that you ever did, or maybe a story that you like to tell?
Oh, I don't have enough time to tell all my favorite stories, but some of my most fun days was when I was coaching summer ball, mm-hmm. and having great teams and going to World Series, not getting any money for that, but just enjoying watching some super athletes developed into professional athletes, or college athletes. And my favorite game at Vanderbilt was I always wanted to beat UT. Mm-hmm. I mean, if I was going against UT, I was charged up. My players were charged up. And they beat me real bad the first year. First year I was there, I went there in February and didn't have any scholarship guys. So I always said, I'll get you back. And a couple of years later, I got them back. I beat them about 13 or 14 runs. But then they had a good team, and we had a good team. And so our first, 1973, they got us whipped, mm-hmm. 8-4. And they take their starting pitcher out. And the ninth inning comes up, and we get a couple of guys on base. Then we get a couple more guys on base. We get one run in. And then a little non-scholarship player at Vanderbilt comes to bat named Tom Powell. And hits a grand slam up on top of the gym that we win 9-8. And Parcells even wrote a poem to put in the Vanderbilt newspaper about that. And then we played Tennessee 3 more times that year, and they were still feeling the effects of that. We swept them. That's probably my most favorite game that we had. With the Sounds, I like to tell this story about how things must change. I used to give a lot of speeches, and I tell them my favorite hero is Ted Giannoulis. Do you know who he is?
I don't.
Never heard of him, huh?
No.
Well, you should. You know him. Ted Giannoulis lived in San Diego, and he was working for a radio station. And a new owner came in and wanted a mascot. So they advertised for the mascot. Ted Giannoulis got the job because he fit the uniform, and he became the chicken.
Yep, San Diego chicken.
So Ted Giannoulis became the famous San Diego chicken. And he was a great entertainer. He always wanted to come out at the bottom of the second in a golf cart waving a flag. So we're playing a game, and it's 0-0, and Ted is down at the gate to come in the left field gate. And all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but a little bit later, we're behind 12-0. He hadn't come out yet. Mm-hmm. So he comes out and he changes his whole routine to fit into, y'all done lost this game, now I'm here to entertain everybody. So I used to tell my audience, Ted Giannoulis makes over $3 million a year being a chicken. And if you can be a chicken and make $3 million a year, there's absolutely nothing you can't do.
I love that.
So,
well, so I will tell you, and I think I'm right when I say 1982. And maybe that was around that time. I don't know, but I'm almost certain that my first recollection of baseball was watching the Sounds and the San Diego Channel. And the next year, I wanted to play T-ball.
Yeah. I booked that little bird 92 times with all the different teams I had. Major League. He also did hockey.
Okay.
So we owned a hockey team for a little while. And so he's just an entertainer. I think he's still doing some.
Yeah.
I think he had 92 different assistants. He was tough to work for.
Oh,
he was very demanding.
I believe it.
Because he was a pro.
Sure.
So he wanted to always make sure he put on a great show.
Yeah. Well, he's risking his reputation every time.
Oh, yeah.
Just the other day, yesterday, I got a message from Innsworth, the private school, and they want me to come out for their banquet. And that'll be, I agreed to do that one just to come out there because my favorite teacher, the one that inspired me to become a leader and all those things, is the dean there. And I think that's the only unpaid event that I've agreed to in probably 15 years. And it's because I risk my reputation every time. And knock on wood, I've never missed a shot live. So every time I've been in front of a live crowd, I have, whatever it was I was trying to do, I made it happen. But I get that to some degree. Now, I try not to be difficult to work with, but I definitely turn some things down.
Right.
I think Innsworth might be able to afford to pay you, but
Nah.
that's good of you to do it. That's a beautiful campus.
Oh, it's
nicer than most colleges.
Oh, it is. I mean, the first time I walked onto that campus, I'm just blown away. Like it's
Got an ex-major leaguer coaching their baseball team. I think he's the athletic director now, Maxwell.
I think so. And then y'all just missed. Do y'all know Virgil Herring?
Oh, yeah.
So Virgil was here just right before y'all got here.
He can play.
Yeah. So he used to be the golf coach over at Innsworth.
Who's the dean?
Kate McGlasson.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know Ricky Bowers kind of got them going when they started the high school.
Yep.
That's a legendary coach around here.
Well, just the way that whole thing came together. They did a lot of research before they broke ground to make sure that it was set up for success and to be a world class facility. So, but yeah, a lot of college places wish they had that kind of campus.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we do, it's a little bit of fun, can be a little controversial, is things we think but do not say. And so for me, a lot of times it's keeping score and how we've kind of watered down generations by giving everybody a participation trophy. What's something you can think of that you think it just needs to be said?
That's been one of my faults. Usually if I think it, I just say it. So, everybody knows where I stand, and I respect their belief. I agree with you that an emphasis should be placed on excellence. Mm-hmm. Not everybody can be excellent. It's all right to be good. Mm-hmm. It's all right to be bad at things. Nobody's good or excellent at everything.
That's right.
My big pet peeve is the phoniness of certain people. I just I don't usually say that guy's a phony. I just ignore he exists or she exists.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't have time for that person.
No.
Yeah. I do think as I get older, and I think a lot of people do this, but I think the more gray hair I get, the less likely I am to put up with BS.
Yeah.
That's a good motto.
Very good motto. Some people could say I'm getting grumpier, but it's just if somebody's not authentic, if somebody, I know that they're not telling the truth, there's no reason for me to waste any more time with them. There's too many good people in the world to spend time with.
I think one of Dad's favorite sayings, which probably drives my older brother on that runs the company with Dad, and then Philip Cox, who does everything for us, is if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. And we didn't tee this up before, so I don't know how deep we want to go with it, but how big a deal is communication with your I mean, I've had a team of 500. I know how strenuous that can be. Do you predominantly share it with the leaders, the GMs, and then it's up to them to broadcast the message, or how are you doing that currently?
Well, it is communication, but ours is a little different than maybe a company that is all the same. I know Bolero has bought all these centers, 350 centers, and want every center to run exactly the same. a center in California to run the same as a center in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Right.
That's impossible. Our centers are different too. The ones up north are totally different than the one in the south. And like our center at right below Cincinnati, and that's the beer drinkingest group I've ever seen in the world at Erlanger, and they have tremendous leagues. Their leagues are totally different than 90% of our leagues in Tennessee.
Okay.
They're a little bit more serious than a good time league, but it's not life or death.
Right.
And the questions you get asked is about beer, not the shot.
Okay.
And so some of your listeners may not know what we're talking about when we talk about a shot. All is placed on those lanes, and there's a certain criteria that the United States Bowling Congress puts out to make it a legal shot or a tough shot. Most league bowlers, I tell my mechanics, it's not what you want, it's what the majority of the league bowlers wants, not what one bowler wants, the majority.
Sure.
I've had disputes come up, and when I do, I get some of the best bowlers, some of the worst bowlers, the middle bowlers, to come in, and we put shot after shot after shot down and say, whenever y'all come up with a majority, that's it.
Yeah.
And so most bowlers want a shot that's just barely legal, that they can score the highest. Some other people will say, I want the tough shot. So we can sometimes put in the pro shot. And when we first put it in Hendersonville, I noticed a young man, he's a lawyer. He was getting out of his Mercedes that night, and I said, how you doing that pro shot, Lee? Oh, it's good, but I'm not going to do it again. Why's that? He said, well, I'm averaging 190. I said, that's very good.
Yeah.
He said, I'd rather bowl 220. So, he wasn't just so serious that he wanted to go on a pro tour.
Sure.
And so, it's the communication. One, I used to do this myself. I'd go into every center at least once a week during league bowling. I can't do it anymore because of my wife's health and mine too. Ronnie, our oldest, is in those doing mine. I still go once a month or once every 2 weeks to communicate with the general manager and the other people that's there. Talk to them, maybe not as a group, but just say, hey, Steve, you're doing a good job. Like that smile you got. Hey, Mr. Mechanic, we really appreciate the work you put in.
That's right.
So it's again, going back to team element that you, as a executive, that you go in and translate to whoever.
Right. And all your centers are within, what, about 5-6 hours?
Our farthest one away is Cincinnati, which is 4.5, 5 hours.
Okay. Gotcha.
I've tried to get him on the beach, but he keeps turning it down. I said I'll be happy to relocate. And,
That's right.
And keep an eye on it, but for some reason he thinks they just drink coffee and don't spend any money.
He's worried the sand will get on the lanes.
Yeah,
Gotta have something to do.
That's right. And you said 500 plus employees, right? In the ballpark?
Some of those are temporary or part-time, but they're still very important, especially weekend people.
Yeah. How big a focus is youth bowling for your centers?
Probably not as much as it used to be. Our leagues are. When I first got into it, you'd have a youth league that's bowling 24, 25 weeks. Kids not going to do that no more.
Yeah.
So we have the youth leagues. But most of them are 10 or 12 weeks. If you like it, take 2 weeks off and come back again. So we put a tremendous emphasis on high school bowling.
Okay. I love that.
We've got every high school bowling in the city pretty much bowls at our centers. And So a lot of our managers, whether it be Mark Hubbard at Hermitage or Tracy or Chris Law, are coaching some of those high school. And then we also are employing some of those high school bowlers
Sure.
to work part-time, being a lane attendant or whatever. So, we're very, very involved in the high school bowling, which is a fast-growing sport throughout the United States.
It is, and a lot of people are new to it or don't know that their school might even have one. And then a lot of people don't realize how many different types of jobs there are in bowling, whether it's at the center itself or whether the marketing for a center, the business aspect of a center, the inventory management of a center, the food and beverage, the hospitality side, or in manufacturing itself. There's marketing jobs, there's design jobs. There's a lot of that.
Well, we also, we're not known for that, but we have 15 restaurants.
Yeah.
We have 15 bars.
Yep.
So you got to know food costs. You got to know how to cook or how to serve a drink. And the bars are not a big part, but you need bars.
Sure.
But, people have tried it without alcohol. And I understand the church people say you shouldn't serve alcohol. You don't have to drink it.
That's right.
We don't push it. We don't have specials. But we have a bar. If you want a beer, you can get a beer. If you want a mixed drink, you get a mixed drink. Mm-hmm. If you want to watch a football game, we got, I think at Hendersonville, for instance, we got like 40 TVs. Mm-hmm. You got to entertain.
Yeah.
And you got to have some rules and regulations.
I'd love to know, not that it's because of us, but how many high schoolers have come through our centers that have gone on to bowling college.
Oh, yeah.
And what they've been able to do with that, or even if they didn't use it, they have that money that's in their smart account.
That's
maybe
right.
that they just, I wish they had bowling 30-something years ago when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a good bowler, but hopefully I could at least been a fifth man on the team.
It would have brought more interest.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And, one of the things, well, let me ask this. Do you think that do you think funding is an issue in youth bowling, or is it interest, or is it the majority of the places get their leagues are too long? What do you think it is?
I think it's a total time element. You hear, why are leagues, full-time leagues, declining? Mm-hmm. Used to, there's over 10 million registered league bowlers. Yeah. Now there's a little over 1 million. Mm-hmm. Some people say the owners chased them off. Well, or it got too expensive. Mm-hmm. Time chased them off. Yeah. It's more things for people to do.
There's a lot more competition.
Instead of saying, I'm going to tie up 32 consecutive Thursdays
That's right.
to go bowl, I want to do other things. Mm-hmm. I love bowling. So most of your leagues that you start now are 12, 14, 16-week leagues. Take a couple weeks off at Christmas. If you really love it, we have another 14-team league.
Yeah.
So if you start a new league, say we got a new league, and we're going to bowl 35 weeks, you're going to have like 2 teams.
Yeah, you're not going to get new bowlers. No. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, specifically at Hendersonville, John and Megan Henderson, I've bowled with them a couple times. They bowl on Sunday nights, and they love bowling there. And I've subbed with them a couple times. And the other night, Megan decided to throw a ball backwards.
Yeah.
She got a strike. She did fantastic. But, I do think that people get passionate about their center, and the people that are employed there and serve the drink or get the lane ready, or, it becomes more like family. And so thank you for building places and maintaining places. Obviously it'd be easy to just sell out to Bolero, and they'd be trying to cookie cutter the next 17, 18 locations. But I appreciate you being who you are and the integrity that you bring to the business, and obviously taking care of your employees. And I can't believe it's been 25 years already since we met.
We appreciate the bowlers. We appreciate the people like you who are dedicated to it. I tell anybody, if you have an idea, a complaint, my cell number is 615-294-8500. You can call me between 8 and 10:30 at night. I'll listen to your complaint. If we did something wrong, we'll make it good. If we didn't do something wrong, I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah.
This is a rule for everybody, not just you.
That's right. That's right. And really, a lot of people need that reality check. A lot of people get kind of caught up in themselves, and really, it's you've said this probably 10 different ways since we started talking, but it's about other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just is.
And it's kind of corny. I mean, bowling brings a lot of different people together. I mean, I don't even want to say what my average was. We're bowling league, but from your scratch bowler, I was working in Tusculum a couple nights, and these two brothers kept coming in. I'm like, y'all need to join a league.
Yeah.
They didn't. They only joined a league. They ended up working for us, and one of them runs our Donaldson Center now. So it's just such a great activity. That brings. And me and my two brothers bowled a league Sunday night at Tusculum, and Ron was way more competitive than me and brother Mike, and he'd get mad at us for walking around socializing too much and not winning. And, everybody's giving us 200 pins every time we bowl because we're so bad, but it's great. It's handicapped, and it's, you can bowl against somebody like yourself and get all those, and it's just competitive, brings out competitive juices in you. So
it does.
It's just
and I will give one last thing before we close this. To the people that say bowling is not a sport, come out and try it.
That's right.
And I'll put you with a league bowler. And if you think it's real easy to bowl 200, we'll see how long it takes you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I got two last things for you. So this one's fun. So if you were to put together a celebrity bowling challenge, and we're going to raise some money for a particular charity out there, who would be on your team? Could be anybody throughout history, whether you knew them, didn't know them, alive or otherwise.
We got a 4-person team.
You and 4 others.
Well, I'd have to bring in my boyhood idol, Mickey Mantle. I'd have to bring in my old buddy Bill Parcells, where he could chew them all out. My other bowler would have to be
Jerry Reed.
Huh?
Jerry Reed.
Well, yeah, that would be a good one here, Conway.
Uh-huh.
And my most important bowler would be my wife of 65 years, Shirley Schmittou, who can't bowl a lick, but she has her own ball.
That's right, and she's going to be fun.
That's right.
She just retired last year, so
okay,
the work ethics and in the genes a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, does she enjoy bowling?
With the grandkids, yes. My wife is, everything I've ever done, she's been 100% for me. When I told her I was going to get into bowling, she kind of turned her nose up to it, because she grew up in a time, like I did, that bowling was a place where old white guys hung out smoking cigars, telling nasty jokes, and drinking beer.
Mm-hmm.
That is true to some extent,
sure,
but really not anymore.
Right.
So once she learned what bowling was really like, she just jumped right back in to be involved. She was involved in baseball. She's involved in every team I ever coached. So she's always been involved.
Yeah.
Always been supportive.
She's your partner.
Yep.
That's fantastic. Well, big shout out to Miss Shirley out there. And thank you for being a part of bowling, even by proxy, by letting him follow his dreams.
Right. Well, we planned on being in it a long time.
I love that. Last thing, have you put any thought into how you want to be remembered?
Yeah, I would like to be remembered as a guy, was a decent guy that treated people right and always kept his word, and didn't let things get him down. He just got knocked down. He just got back up.
Yeah. I love that. Well, Larry, Steve, thank you guys for coming in.
My pleasure.
It's been a fantastic time hanging out with you guys. And again, Larry, a lot of people did not like the way that I bowled. A lot of people turned their nose up at that. And you would not have been wrong for being any other way than they were. But you took an opportunity to be nice to me, and it really helped me along the way. So I appreciate that.
Well, congratulations on all your success. You're the chicken of bowling. Made money out of bowling. So maybe it didn't get the same rights fee that the old chicken got, but we're proud for your success.
Well, he probably owes you some royalties because he's gotten a lot of mileage out of that story. Whenever we travel in all the different bowling worlds, he's gotten a lot of mileage out of your story. So
it's
we're
fun
happy for you.
I appreciate it. And one of the when I used to get periodically kicked out of a place, I was bowling with a friend of mine. We were in South Haven, Mississippi. And we had been at Tunica, and he was losing money too fast. And I said, "We'll go bowling. Like, let's go away from the casino for a little bit." And I had been used to that look when the manager was headed over to usher me out of there. And this guy comes over, and he, in a stern voice, "You Jim Cripps?" "Yes, sir. Come with me." And, I don't know if he's walking me out of there or what. And I was like, told my buddy, I said, "Grab my bag if, I'm out of here." And he walks me back to the office, and he pulls my picture off the wall, and he goes, "You mind signing that?"
That's awesome.
And I thought,
Wow.
hadn't been treated like that since Larry put me on TV. So, but I tell a lot of people that story. And, in fact, Rudy and I were talking about that just last year. So, again, I appreciate all that you do.
Did you bowl with Kimball?
I did not.
Okay.
So when I was on Jimmy Kimmel, I bowled against his aunt.
Okay. He makes fun with her all the time.
Oh,
boy.
yeah. And she just about lost it. I was surprised they didn't have to beat some words out. Because they actually, it's the only time I have thrown a game forward. And it's because they did not want her to know who I was. They said, "Look, you've got to blend in." I said, I don't bowl forward. And they would go, "We've hired these 4 actors to act like they're your best friends. We're drawing you randomly out of the crowd."
Yeah.
And so I bowled a whole game forward. I shot 112. And then they randomly picked me, and I shot 210 against her on TV.
You weren't nervous at all doing that?
Well, that one just worked out. I was able to shake the nerves.
Good.
And partly because, whether it was at your center or anywhere else, I drew a crowd, and you were either going to get tough skin or you were going to get used to, the stress. And, for a while, USBC hired me to bowl with Bob Learn and Carmen Servino and a few others to do trick shot shows. And that was a whole new level of stress. In fact, my pinnacle moment was 2009. And we were doing a trick shot show in between the first round and the last round and the TV show for the Masters or the Open. And so everybody in bowling who earns their money bowling was watching, and they're watching me. I'm the guy that doesn't fit. I don't have a pro card, but it inspired me to go get my PBA card because every kid that got an autograph wanted to know, "Are you a pro? Are you a pro?" No, So 2011, I got my PBA card.
Yeah, we brought Parker bowling in. We opened Hillwood, and he set one of our employees on that bar stool right in front of the pins and threw 3 straight strikes right through the legs of that bar stool.
Oh yeah. Well, I got probably the biggest honor I ever got was 2012 when they opened the first Disney bowling alley. Johnny Petraglia and I were both hired to do all the TV shows. And so we were on 75 channels just back to back to back. They just swapped them out, and you went as fast as you could. And, of course, every one of them wanted a strike. But we did a couple trick shots, and, they loved it. And
It's amazing where bowling's taken. We're just on a whim, you threw it backwards, and where it's taken you from that. That's a great story.
The relationships. I mean, we wouldn't be sitting here. Yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't be here in this podcast studio. So the reason that I met Nick Hyder was when I shot 300, Randy Huth, who was the Little League coach, well, he used to run the Pinnacle. And so he's the reason that I was able to start bowling backwards. Yeah. And he called and he said, "Look, you gotta do Hyder's podcast." So I jumped on the podcast with him, and then he found out about all the business stuff that I'd done. And he goes, "Well, you need your own podcast."
Yeah.
So indirectly, bowling kind of has it changed the direction of my life for sure.
Good.
So But
Well, speaking of bowling, if we're through, I got to go to work.
Yeah, he's getting
That's right.
anxious. He's getting anxious.
That's
we,
good.
We go on 2 family reunions every year, and you can just see him crawling out of his skin, sitting over there in the.
Just
Ready to get back to
He
it.
likes his routine, but
I love it.
he's pretty good at it.
Well, Larry and Steve, thanks so much
Thanks
for
for
coming
having
in.
us.
thank you.
To everybody watching the podcast today, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for checking this one out. Hopefully, some of the things that you heard today, whether it be the integrity piece, whether it be the mentors along the way, the coaching, how you treat your team members, how you treat your customers, all those many things. There's a lot to learn from Mr. Schmittou and what he has done both in sports, for Nashville, and for bowling. Until next time, I'm Jim Cripps with the Charge Forward Podcast. Thanks so much to the team here at Hit Lab Studios and our partners at Sense Custom Development and Charge Forward Solutions. We'll see you later. Team, is Jim Cripps here with the Charge Forward Podcast. I just want to tell you, I love you. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you for subscribing and sharing the Charge Forward Podcast with people you know and you love, because that's what we're here for. We are here to share the amazing stories, the things that people have been through, the ways that they were able to improve their life so that you can take little nuggets from theirs and help improve your story and be better tomorrow than you were today. I hope that this is the tool you needed at the right time and that you find value in the amazing guests that we bring each and every week. Thanks so much, and don't forget, new episodes drop every Thursday.